Greetings. Lenny has been missing, or he just went out for 4 nights, and he's back home and sleeping for the next 4 nights by the looks of it. He has discovered it's electric blanket season, so he's quite happy about that. So we are going to read this book. I have never read an Agatha Christie book before. It is my seasonal read. It's Halloween Party. No one believes young Joyce Reynolds when she boasts she once witnessed a murder, until that is, she is found drowned, face down, in an apple-bobbing tub. What exactly was it that she saw? Then the victim's brother is found drowned too, and the mysteries multiply. Hercule Poirot and Ariadne Oliver must race to get at the truth and prevent further tragedy. The little grey cells hold the solution. Oh yeah, it was filmed as A Haunting in Venice, so I'm wondering if it is actually set in Venice. I got it from the library because I am not a mystery kind of a person, so I am trying something new here. This is my first ever Agatha Christie. Will I like it? I just don't know. Oh, it's to him. I recently read one of his books. That's cute, isn't it? Judith Butler. If you know, you know. Okay, I'm actually going to try and read some. Hello, this is Ingrid from the future. I did read Halloween Party. It was fine. I loved the description of the Halloween party at the start. It was very, very cute. It was loads of like spooky things, and then there was just so many characters and they were barely fleshed out, and so I was just like, by the end of it, it was a bit like Scooby-Doo, where they're like, oh, it's the uncle of the man, of the other person, of the groundskeeper, of the... You know what I mean? Like, it was like, oh, it was like a minor character that you introduced amongst, like, dozens of other minor characters. Yeah, maybe I'm just not a murder mystery person because I don't have the capacity to retain that much, like, basic, minimal, like, mentions of people, because it's just like, am I meant to remember all of these people? I think that was maybe just not the right Agatha Christie book for me to start with, so I'm willing to try other ones. I am probably going to try the one which is on a train at some point, and my friend has recommended a couple as well, so I think I gave it 3 stars. It was fine. Maybe I gave it less. Might have given it 2.5. It was fine. I just didn't really care. And, yeah. Sorry, guys. That would have been fun, wouldn't it, if I'd have, like, got really into it. Yeah, moving on. Imagine, if you will, that you have a lot of books that you could read, including all of these library books. This book pile of books I have to read by the end of the year, and some other books which I need to read. However, I could just randomly pick a book from my shelf instead, couldn't I? Imagine if I just did that instead of reading any of the library books that I really need to read. Okay, let's just see. Let's just see what happens. Saving to... Oh no, I can't. Can I have a do-over, because this is not going to work for me right now. I will show you what it is, but I absolutely don't want to read a non-fiction, as I've got another one I'm reading. This is non-fiction. This has been on my shelf for probably 2 years, over 2 years. In fact, when did it come out? Let's out myself. 2023. Yep, I bought it like really soon after it came out from Houseman's bookshop in London. Have I read it? No. Do I want to read it? Yes. When am I going to read it? Not sure. How to Do Nothing is amazing, but like, yeah, no, I'm sorry. I need a do-over on that one. I really have good intentions, but we need to be, oh, let's have this one that's fallen out. Need to be realistic. Kind of just want to read a fiction book. Okay, this book is on the pile of doom. I just need to read it. I'm going to read it. This is it. I'm going to see how I feel about it. I'm going to read the first chapter. Okay. What's that you say, Agatha Christie? I should read your book in time for Halloween, should I? Can't hear you. Oh no. Nevada is on this book pile of doom. Somewhere. There she is. Okay. This is going to be a good one. The reason this is on my pile of doom is because it's, I believe, a road trip book, sorry. Yes, which is one of the prompts for the Pop Sugar reading challenge, and I haven't done that yet, so I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read one chapter and I will let you know how I'm vibing with it. I think I'm gonna call this series a random mood read from my TBR jar, because I don't know. Or should I just call it TBR jar progress? I don't even know how to do YouTube. I don't even know how to do booktube in particular. Anyway, I need to read this book. I'm going to read one chapter and I will get back to you. Also, for HRCYED, I assume Nevada will be useful, because I don't think I've read a book with a Nevada state, not with that state in it, and then they have that map on the tracker, so that will be good. This book came out in 2013, so it just misses last 10 years. And I'm not sure what I'm gonna use it for on HRCYED 2.0, because I don't need it for trans representation. I'll figure it out. Okay, I love this. I will read this book, but before I do, listen to the first 2 sentences. Maybe three sentences. She's choking me. She's really in there. Fingers on cartilage, smashing my trachea, and I can't breathe, Maria thinks. She truly can't breathe, but she can't bring herself to care. This is why you should just pick a book off your bookshelf and start reading it, because it's probably there for a reason. Okay, I read the first chapter. It's only 3 pages long. It's really good though. It's like a trans woman and her girlfriend are having bad sex because they've been in a relationship for 4 years and it's just gone a bit stale. I think we know what's going to happen. Yeah, interesting. Trans women in real life are different from trans women on television. For one thing, when you take away the mystification, misconceptions and mystery, they're at least as boring as everybody else. I am just going to use this B-roll of the Bronte Parsonage Museum, which I visited in October, while I just brief you that I went to the library after looking at all the piles of library books, and I decided to haul from the library a ton of graphic novels, which I am now going to leaf through. So this is Billy the Bee, and I read this and I used this for the animals prompt. It is a graphic novel by Mary Fleener. I loved it. I was obsessed with the artwork in this. There's just all these different animals, but also then there's like panels where it's just really like cubist, and it's just amazing. I just literally loved every single panel of this comic. So good. And it was very tongue-in-cheek, but also a lot about the actual animals in real life, like different aspects of their, I don't know, survival, and it was just really cool, really cool. Then I found this other book, which is called Work-Life Balance, and it's by Aisha Franz. It was published in 2022. Anyway, the artwork on it was really fun and cool, and it was kind of about working at a startup, but also trying to be creative, but in a world where everything has to be online and you have to promote yourself. Here is just some footage of Queer Lit, which is a really cool bookshop in Manchester, and I really enjoyed browsing the shelves. However, it is sorted out by sexuality for the most part, which drove me up the wall, because let's say you have a series and in the first the character's gay, that will be in the gay section. In the second part of the series there's a bisexual main protagonist, but it's still by the same author and the gay character's still in it. But if the main protagonist is bi, it'll be in the bisexual section. So that's right, it's not organised by author. Literally took me so long to find actual things I was hoping to find. Fun to browse in, terrible to navigate, but you know, maybe I'm just a snobby librarian who likes the alphabet. The other night I just randomly picked this book up off my bookshelf on a whim, and I've been reading it, and it's a book of short stories that centre like trans femme experiences, and it's Gen Z, queer and trans culture, and I really am enjoying it so much. I'm really enjoying the vibes, which are like kind of coming of age, university, college, roommates type, complicated relationships and romances. And yeah, I bought this when I was in New York. Can't remember where from. It might have been from Blue Stockings. Small press, I think. Little puss. And it might have been from Books and Magic actually, but yeah, it was from an independent bookshop in New York, and I just thought it sounded great, and I'm really enjoying it. I think I will probably end up keeping it, and I really don't keep books very often. Just trying to think if there's been any other books I have kept since I started this YouTube channel after reading them, apart from like Garfield comic books or graphic novels. I do tend to keep graphic novels unless I'm a bit meh about them, because I like to refer back to the art sometimes. But yeah, I think I am going to keep this book. Would you believe? Hello. So my filming has been really chaotic, so I thought I'd just fill in the gaps with the books I hadn't even featured in some of these random clips from the past few weeks, over a month probably. So I think, I'm just trying to think where I left off. I did finish reading You Just Need to Lose Weight and 19 Other Myths About Fat People by Aubrey Gordon. It was really good. I think I was reading it in the previous video and I just didn't want to rush through it, so it ended up being one I finished at kind of the end of October. Really enjoyed it, really recommend everybody reads it. I've passed it on. I read Act Your Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert, which I ended up counting for the BIPOC challenge. But the main reason I read that was because the secret prompt in October was a book with a full name in it. And I had read the Chloe Brown one. And when I went to read the Chloe Brown one, like a couple of months ago, I accidentally started the wrong one first. So I'd already kind of read the first page of the Eve Brown one. So I ended up deciding, okay, you know what, like that kind of it kind of interested me after one page before I realised I was reading the wrong one. Because, you know, it's not the first one in the series. I don't think it's really essential you read them all in order, but probably does make more sense. And I think I got more out of the Eve Brown one having read the Chloe Brown one. I have not read Danny Brown, which is the middle one in the trilogy. I might end up doing it at some point because it is kind of like an unfinished trilogy where I've read the first one and the last one. But yeah, the reason I did pick that one was for the challenge. I read My Ex-Husband's Ex-Husband by Rachel Cohn and Melissa Cruz. This was a NetGalley arc, so that was great to get that read. It had like two main protagonists and one of them was gay, so I used that for the gay representation in the queer alphabet. I also listened to the audiobook of Orbital by Samantha Harvey, which I have counted for award season because it did win the Booker last year. It was really good. It was kind of a relaxing audiobook experience. I'm not sure how I would have experienced the physical book. I really enjoyed this book. It was about astronauts. It was about like their experience being an astronaut, but also their real lives on you know, it's their real life when they're on the spaceship, but they also have lives that are going on outside of the spaceship and families and stuff. So it was very interesting. And I can totally see how that won the Booker. So I did enjoy reading that one. I got a book for my birthday. I got The Magic Fish by Trung Le Nguyen, and I did enjoy it a lot. I think I really wanted to read this book and I'd overhyped it in my head. The experience of reading it was good, but I don't think it lived up to my like hype that I'd built up in my mind about it. But I did really enjoy it, and I used it for Spooky Creatures because it's got a mermaid character in it, which is brilliant. And it had a load of cool like folklore stories that kind of weave into a kind of a sort of like an autofiction / memoir type narrative. So I did really enjoy a lot of elements of that because graphic memoir is like probably my favourite genre. So I did enjoy that a lot, and I loved the art, so that was fun. Then I listened to the audiobook of Audition by Katie Kitamura, which was shortlisted for this year's Booker but did not win in the end. I finished it before they announced the winner, so I was kind of like not able to decide where it was going to go until I found out that it didn't win. So it's gone in the shortlist section of award season, which is good because that is one part of the bingo board I have not made tons of progress with yet, but I am getting there, and I have a couple on my like to read soon list. I also read Cleat Cute by Meryl Wilsner. The reason I picked this up was because I was trying to do the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge, and one of them was like read a book about soccer, and I'm just like, great, how can I like be excited about this? Make it gay. It was fun. I did enjoy it. It's extremely spicy, but like not too cringe. And it was what was quite interesting about it was that it was a book about soccer, so we're talking UK football, but it was American characters and their experience of playing what I consider to be football. So it's like the American perception of soccer. It's really interesting because I ended up watching some of that program about Wrexham as well, where, you know, the two famous American men who I cannot tell apart or recall either of their names. Bought Wrexham Football Club in Wales and then invested in it, and I quite like watching that from like a social, I don't know what the right word is, like a social history point of view. I did geography. I like things like you know, case studies of like places that get invested in or like renovated or redeveloped. Even if I think it's really problematic and confusing, and it's like, it's not an easy like good or bad opinion on it. Anyway, I just really like that kind of thing, which is completely not what I'm even talking about, but basically it kind of reminded me of that, because it's like, oh, we're talking about UK football from an American perspective. I just kind of find that interesting. Anyway, maybe I'm just talking rubbish. I listened to The Amazing Book Is Not on Fire, The World of Dan and Phil by Dan and Phil. You know, if you were online in any way, you might have known what happened recently. Dan and Phil. And it was actually published in, I believe it was published in 2015, which feels shocking to me because that feels like archaic lore. That book came out 10 years ago. The past 10 years have been a rich tapestry. Anyway, it was a silly, fun book, I guess. It didn't really teach me anything, but it was cute and fun, and it was easy to listen to. The main reason I kind of picked that one up as well is that on the HRCYED one, there is YouTuber books, and I was like, I don't know how many of them I'm going to even want to read, but I was like, oh, I'll read this one because I do like Dan and Phil. I'm not like super fan, but I do like them, and I have actually I did see Daniel Howell on his tour when he did his like mental health book, and then ended up doing like a tour of some like comedy material related to mental health. And I did watch the live stream of their recent tour. So maybe I am a fan of Dan and Phil. I mostly just like their, used to like their Sims videos. Anyway, they're just nice. They're just nice people. They're just very British. I can relate to that. I read Any Girl But You by Dana Hawkins. That was a NetGalley arc. And it had a red cover. So I ended up putting it down for the red cover for the Even Bigger Rainbow. I enjoyed it. It was the second in another of these romance series where, like, if I'd have read the first one, I would have recognised the characters from the first one and the second one, but the second one was the first one I read because I only got it because of NetGalley. I think it's like Meet Cutes in Minnesota or Michigan. I don't know. I'm saying the wrong M state there, but it was enjoyable. It was kind of cheesy. It's a Christmassy one. I enjoyed it. No further comments really. It was nice, it was pleasant. I would be interested in reading the other ones by that author, so you know, that's a positive review, I think. Didn't like blow my mind or anything. I read Self-Published Kindling by Mick Everett, which had been on my shelf for a while. I think I had a lot of moments in the past month where I just felt like mood reading, and that was one of them. A memoir, and it's about having a small bookshop, but like also struggling financially and actually being homeless. You're like running your business, but you're living in your car. Well, that's what literally happened to the author. She's a massive advocate of self-published books and poetry, so there's a lot of that kind of content in there. It was very interesting, but I am passing it on. It's not going to stay on my shelf, but I'm pleased I finished it because it has been on my shelf for like 2 years probably. I read How to Heal a Workplace because of work, so I will be including that for non-fiction. It is about do you know what it is? Kind of about how everyone has trauma and they bring it to work, because you spend like 37.5 hours a week at work or within a work environment. A lot of people do anyway, not everyone, but you know, if you have triggers, they're gonna come to work, you know. And I did actually find it to be quite therapeutic to read that book, but it was based from an Australian perspective, so there were like whole chapters at the end which were just only really relevant to Australia, but I did really enjoy it. Like overall I found it to be useful, and I'm glad I read it. So I'm sticking that on non-fiction because I'm not wasting a book that I had to read for work. Then I read another graphic novel which I got from the library. I got one called I Ate the Whole World to Find You by Rachel Ang. It was short stories in graphic novel format. They were varied. I think this is what happens when you get like an anthology of short stories, no matter what format they're in. There'll be really good ones and really weird ones and maybe bad ones. I did enjoy some of them. The art was, I did like the art, but I did read a review someone said where like all the characters kind of looked the same and it was hard to tell who was who, and I think that plus it being like short vignettes of stories didn't help. Anyway, it was written and set in Australia, so I'm putting that for the around the world prompt, which I have not made much progress on either, so I figured let's do that. I read Joe the Pirate by Hubert with the illustrator Virginie Augustin, and it was a history of a really, really problematic butch lesbian during like the 1920s basically. I mean, like obviously she lived longer than that, but like the prime and the whole aesthetic of the cover is very like Great Gatsby vibes. She's literally a colonizer. She's rich and she is, you know, treated badly because the world is extremely homophobic. So she buys an island and then becomes the like, well, appoints herself being in charge of the people who, the indigenous people from the island. And like this is actually what happened. This is a person who existed. I think it was really interesting and I did learn a lot, but it was not written in a way that humanized the indigenous people of this island, so I did not like that about it. It was purely her point of view and there was not much commentary on like how messed up that is. And then the island did eventually get like independence, but there was not really anything about that. She was kind of just like angry that she was forced to give up the island. Like she was paid got paid loads of money to not have it anymore, like, so it was released, but she was complaining about how she's been forced out of another society after having left England because of being gay. Yeah, just extremely problematic and conflicting kind of story. I am glad I read it because I feel like I did learn about like a historical person from history that I didn't know anything about, and I've learned about this, like the way that this island was colonized and how it, you know, but I didn't learn enough about the people who were originally living there. They were just side characters in her story, and I didn't learn anything about how it became released from her ownership. So it would be really good to actually learn more about that from another perspective. I've put that down in Heritage Months as women's history because it felt very relevant for that. I read Roaming by Gillian and Mariko Tamaki, a beautiful graphic novel about Canadian people who just take a trip to New York City, having grown up in Canada, and they are both Asian American. So I put that under BIPOC representation. It was just really, really nice. It was just like three friends going to New York, and it was like not without a little bit of drama. There was a bit of like social conflict, but you know, New York is definitely a character in this book because it's just beautiful like images of like crowds and like the iconic moments and places in New York. I read The Builder Boyfriend Project by Mason Deaver, and this is one of Q's recs. Q did a mini review of this, so I've read that one. I agreed with Q. It was cute. It was cute. It had a trans mask main character who was in like pursuing a gay relationship, and it was a very like fake dating kind of a romance book, but it was pleasant and lovely. And I've read another book by Mason Deaver throughout HRCYED already, which I enjoyed. And actually I looked, and Mason Deaver's written quite a lot of other books, so I'm kind of probably going to put them on my list for someone to check out again. They tend to write romances, and they wrote a lot of YA stuff, but the Builder Boyfriend Project came out this year and is their first adult romance novel, so that's cool. I listened to the audiobook of Do I Know You by Sadie Dingfelder. It was a really engaging audiobook about her and her neurodiversities, including stereo blindness, face blindness, and she's such a charismatic reader of her book. I really recommend it. I recommend it for the disability challenge, which I already completed because, you know, that's just something I managed to do really quickly. I really recommend it for the disability challenge if you need more books. It came out last year. She's like a science journalist, so she's a really good writer, and she writes about her personal experiences of learning about her own neurodiversity. It's just a really reflective and lovely read, and she's just a wonderful person. So I enjoyed that a lot. That was non-fiction as well. I've put that under non-fiction because it's kind of, it is a bit memoir, but it's it's part memoir, part science, like neurosciences. Yeah, very interesting. I read Incomplete by Chloe McGinn. This is a local author, and I've put this down for the HRCYED 1 prompt because my favourite HRCYED 1 prompt is the buy a book directly from the author and then review it. And this was a Kickstarter for Chloe's latest part of this graphic novel series. It's on Tapas, so it's also kind of like a webcomic. This was volume 5, and I believe it was the last volume. And so I've been following along this story. It's a story that is inspired by her real life, but it's not autobiographical. It's about two boys who fall in love, and one of them has an injury and is paralysed, and it's about navigating disability and love, basically. I really recommend it. It's a super indie book that is self-published by Chloe, and it's a real labour of love. So yes, I used that for the HRCYED 1 prompt for buy a book directly from an indie author. So yeah, I did that and it was good. So I just finished Girlfriends by Emily Zhu. I loved it. I think I would give this 4.5 stars. And I think if I was on Goodreads and I had to round it to a full star rating, I'd probably just round it up to 5 stars. There were a couple of bits where I was a bit like, but like mostly loved it. Really great short story collection, and I am now gonna be checking to see if this author has any full-length novels. Really enjoyed it. Just a great time. And I'm actually keeping it, which means it's going on my shelf, which doesn't happen very often. Amazing. Everything is a bit tight on here, but yeah, cool. Thanks for watching. I kind of just fell a little bit off the edge of YouTube in the past month, and I don't really know why. Maybe it's the winter thing catching up with me. But I'm back. I'm up to date. Oh yeah, so I did finish one of my bingo board, no, 2 of my bingo board things. I finished the animals one, and I finished the favourite HRCYED 1 prompt one. So that feels pretty good. So yeah, I'm getting there. I think the next one I'm likely to finish is The Even Bigger Rainbow. I think there's 2 books I need to read to finish that one, but one of them, it just feels like I'm dragging my heels with it, so maybe that is just not realistic. But that's the one that I've almost completed and just not got there. I'm also trying to work on the awards season one. Now we know who won what, and they've also announced Goodreads Choice Awards. I don't know if I'm going to really use that, but I might end up using it for like entered the competition books if they don't win. I don't know. I'm waiting to see who wins to see what I can fit where and whether I even want to read it in the first place. Yeah, I feel like I'm getting to the point where I've done the ones that were easy for me, and I am going to have to do some work. But I have read quite a lot of my books on my shelf, so I'm very pleased about that. Okay, so look, we're getting there. I did add a few more books onto it where the empty spaces were, but like this side, kind of like these ones were, certainly this side is looking good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And at the start of HRCYED, there were, in this particular set of books, which is books that are physically on my shelf before HRCYED started, there was 55. So I've done 12 out of 55. Obviously I need to get a move on, but I am pleased with that progress, and I have enjoyed most of the books, and a lot of them I've been able to pass on, which feels good because it means there's less books apart from all the books I've brought in. Let's not talk about that. Let's do that another time. Thanks for watching. As usual, please, if you got this far, drop an emoji in the chat that makes you think of winter.